Okay, I see by the clock on the wall, it's 3 o'clock. Time to call to order the Board of Directors regular meeting for Monday, June 19th, 2023. We will be skipping item number 2 since all of the board members are here today. Please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Amber, would you lead us in the pledge? Good flag, United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please remain standing. Before we move forward with today's meeting, I'd like to note the importance of the day. It is with great honor and reverence that we recognize and commemorate Juneteenth, a day of profound significance in American history. Juneteenth, also known as Freedom Day or Emancipation Day, marks the momentous occasion when news of the emancipation of enslaved African Americans finally reached Galveston. That was Galveston, Texas, on June 19th, 1865, 2.5 years after the Emancipation Proclamation was signed. It was a day of jubilation, celebration, and a turning point towards justice and freedom for all. On this occasion, we acknowledge and pay tribute to the resilience, strength, and enduring spirit of those who fought tirelessly for freedom and equality. We honor the ancestors who endured unimaginable hardships and whose struggles paved the way for progress, shaping the diverse and vibrant nation we live in today. As we go about today's business at hand, let us embrace the spirit of the Juneteenth as we engage in meaningful dialogue, seeking to understand one another and fostering an environment of unity and respect. You may be seated. We have a roll call, please.
Director Meyerhoffen.
Here.
Director Duff.
Present.
Director Griffith.
Present.
Vice President Sewell.
Here.
President Martin.
Present.
Thank you. We have quorum.
Okay. Counselor, would you advise us on rules of procedure?
Yes, according to the rules of procedure adopted by the Board of Directors, all noticed meetings are conducted using Rosenberg's Rules of Order as a procedural guideline. Directors should refrain from responding directly to public comments at meetings of the board. The board president presides at all meetings and decides all points of order and procedure during meetings. The president is responsible for the maintenance of order and decorum at all board meetings. No person should be allowed to speak who has not first been recognized by the president. No member of the board should speak more than once upon any one subject until every other member of the board wishing to speak on the subject shall have been given an opportunity to speak. No board member shall interfere with the orderly progress of a board meeting. The board president regulates the amount of time to be dedicated to a particular agenda item.
Thank you. Item 6, public input. This is the opportunity for members of the public to address the board on matters within the board's jurisdiction. Please limit comments to 3 minutes or less. State law prohibits the board from discussing or taking action on any item not listed on the agenda. Do we have any members of the public wishing to address the board today? Yes, sir.
President Martin, we do.
Okay.
Betancourt would like to address the board.
Let's first, we've got the people here that are present. I'll take them first, okay?
Yeah, he's in the boardroom. Philip is
Okay.
present in the boardroom.
Mr. Chair, directors and staff, on official business, I'm reporting once again as the developer and planner for our properties on Worsley Road, south of Dillon Road. Once again, all of the water plans have been approved, but we have notified the current property owners of the availability of those plans and their ability to meet the necessary steps of the agencies and proceed. We do not have any new information on what their intentions are, including a United Pentecostal Church, which has gone their own way, if you will. So we wish them well. Secondly, on an unofficial matter, I am an at-large director for cities, a commissioner for the Coachella Valley Energy Commission. This was formed by the Imperial Irrigation District to provide a governance structure for electrical service in the IID portion that is within Riverside County. We are a multi-party group. We expect the supervisor will be joining the group. We're awaiting a study from the Local Agency Formation Commission that is out now for public comment on governmental structures. Last week, the Coachella Valley Water District asked to join as a member as well. So this will be a part of, I think, a lively and constructive discussion on governance for the whole of the valley. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Anybody else here at the boardroom wishing to address the board? Anybody online wishing to address the board? Tori?
President Martin, there is not.
Okay. Moving on to item 7, Human Resources Report. Art? Yeah. Okay.
I guess I better turn this on. Can you hear me, Dory? I have the pleasure of introducing some of our very dedicated and loyal MSWD employees. This year, there are no new hires, so we'll jump right into 2 anniversaries that we have that represent 8 years of service to our communities from our district. First, we have Joseph Macaron. We affectionately refer to him as Joey. And he's been with the district for more than 2 years. And he's a very good working knowledge of our collection system. And he works hard to keep the system clean and inspected. He's very dependable, always there and willing to lend a hand. And he also shifts over to the treatment side. So we enjoy people. That's what we do at this district is we put 2 hats on if we need to. He's always a team player, and he goes out of his way to be available to others and the department, and he's always willing to share his knowledge and expertise. And so with that said, I'm going to let Lee Boyer, Chief Plant Operator, say a few words.
Thank you, General Manager Wall, President Martin, members of the board. I'm Andy. Lee is actually off today, so I'll be speaking on behalf of Lee for Joey. Joey's been with us for about 2 years, and he is someone that I can always count on, whether it's with customer service in the field or working on anything inside the plant or the collection system. I've never had any backlash from him. He's always been able to do stuff, no questions asked, and has always asked for help and wants to keep on helping in every single way. So we really do appreciate having him on our team, and we want him to stay here as long as he can with us and help us out any way he can. We appreciate everything he's done for us.
Okay, thank you, Andy. Next, we have the lead fleet and maintenance worker, Alex Nine, who we see around here more than anybody because of the nature of his work, of course. He's really a good employee. He consistently exceeds expectations. He goes above and beyond all the time in what he wants to deliver. He always has high quality work and demonstrates, a really good work ethic, which is what we love. We ensures that tasks are completed and they're always of a high standard. And he always is very timely, usually ahead of schedule. He's an excellent problem solver. We see him around here figuring things out consistently. He demonstrates that he can handle challenging tasks. He's also very proactive in taking care of issues immediately because this is an area where we are very lean. And now I know Jeff is here today. Nobody told me that Lee wasn't here today. So Jeff, do you want to say a few words?
Yeah, thank you, General Manager Waldem. Good afternoon, President Martin and the members of the board. I have the honor to work with Alex now for the last 6 years. And there's been times where we work late at night and, like Arden was saying, he's the type that doesn't give up on projects. We've had some pretty bad back easement leaks with, roots and everything else. And, Alex just never gives up. You know, he's the guy that's in the hole digging, working hard, until the job's done. And he's rolling that same kind of mentality into this new position of lead fleet and facilities worker. We expect a lot out of him. He's very, very talented in what he does. So, a lot to come from him. And he's actually here. He has a little bit of technical difficulties in his office, but he's here. If he wants to say something.
Just wanted to say that overall, I greatly appreciate Mission Springs Water District as well as Jeff for giving me the opportunity to showcase what skills I have, as well as be a little lenient in the learning curve of handling different jobs, whether it be in the field or in the new position that I'm currently in. It's been a wonderful 6 years here, and I hope to continue to build a career here at Mission Springs Water District and thrive.
Yeah, and I just want to add both, Alex and Joey. It's just a pleasure to see them. They have a great personality, and I see them and I love to say hi and talk to them, find out a little bit about what's going on. So thank you for being a member of our team, both of you. And that's it. President.
Okay. Any questions or comments from the board? Ted? No. Evan? Amber?
Just thank you, Joey and Alex. Keep it up.
Robert? Yeah. Ditto to what Amber said. Okay, moving on to item 8, public hearing on resolution 2023-09 to establish water standby assessments. And this is the time and place fixed for public to publicly hear all protests, objections, or appeals in respect to the water standby assessments. The public hearing will be declared open and staff will give their report. I will then call for comments from the public. During this time, there will be no back and forth conversation between the public and the board and staff. All questions will be noted and will be addressed after all public comments have been received. The public hearing will then be closed, and the board may discuss and vote on the proposed assessments. I declare this public hearing open. Secretary's report, please.
Notice of public hearing was published to the Desert Sun on May 26th and June 2nd, 2023. Additionally, postcards detailing this public hearing will mail to all affected customers on May 11th, 2023. As of this afternoon, there are no comments or protests on this item.
Okay. Do we have a representative from Wildan Financial Services?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay, so there will be no staff report.
Arturo,
Yes.
are you giving that?
Yes,
staff report?
Arturo should,
Oh, okay. All right. I'm sorry.
I want to say something.
Arturo?
Yes, thank you, General Manager Wallum, President Martin, and distinguished members of the board. Real quick presentation on the information for the water standby charges. As you know, the state does allow the district for those properties that were on standby prior to the passing of Proposition 218. These are the ones, the addresses that there is a line going to their property but have not connected to the district, for a total of 4,668 and totaling $232,961 that we collect on the property taxes. And that's the basic summary of the water standby charges.
Okay, thank you. Now we move to public comments. Are there anybody either on the phone or present that wishes to address the board on this matter?
President Martin, there is not.
Okay. Seeing no further speakers, I hereby declare the public hearing closed. Board discussion. Do any members of the board wish to address this item at this point? Amber?
I just ask Mr. Seha to please repeat how many properties? 4,000, how many?
4,668 properties.
Thank you very much.
Robert?
I have nothing.
Ted?
I always opposed to putting more money on somebody's tax rolls. However, I think this, in this case, it's good to maybe put it on their tax rolls so that they'll develop and do something with those properties. And so it's good for the city and us too. Thank you.
Ivan?
Nothing further, but I'll make a motion to move the item. I'll make a motion to move the item.
Okay, we have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Could I have a roll call vote, please?
Director Marhoffen,
Yes.
Director Duff,
Yes.
Director Griffith,
Aye.
Vice President Sewell,
Yes.
President Martin.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes.
Okay, moving on to item 9. That's a resolution 2023-10 to establish sewer standby assessments. Staff's recommendation is to adopt resolution 2023-10, making a determination to fix levy and collect sewer standby assessments for fiscal year 2023-24. This is a time and place fixed to publicly hear all protests, objections, or appeals in respect to the sewer standby assessments. The public hearing will be open and staff will give their report. I will then call for comments from the public. During this time, there will be no back and forth conversation between the public and the board and staff. All questions will be noted and will be addressed after all public comments have been received. The public hearing will then be closed and the board may discuss and vote on the proposed assessments. I declare this public hearing open. Madam Secretary.
Notice of public hearing was published in the Desert Sun on May 26th and June 2nd, 2023. Additionally, postcards detailing this public hearing were mailed to all affected customers on May 11th, 2023. As of this afternoon, there are no comments or protests on this item.
Okay, thank you. I assume that we don't have someone from Wildan Financial Services, so I assume Arturo is going to take it. Okay, Arturo, go ahead.
Thank you, President Martin and distinguished members of the board. I am sharing the screen of the properties that we're sending out to the property taxes for the sewer charges, amounting to 1,086 properties and $12,950.50. The sewer saw a decrease in the amount of properties from last year when they came in to connect for new services. But that is the amount that will be sent to the property taxes for collection for the 2023-2024 fiscal year.
Okay,
Thank you.
anything further from staff?
Nothing further.
Okay. Seeing no further speakers, I hereby declare the public hearing closed. Moving on to board discussions, Amber? Nothing, Robert? Ted?
Yes. What does this come out per property owner per month?
I believe it's $10.50.
All right. Thank you.
Nothing further? Okay, with that, then I will entertain a motion to adopt. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Can we have a roll call vote, please?
Director Marhoffen,
Yes.
Director Duff,
Yes.
Director Griffith,
Aye.
Vice President Sewell,
Yes.
President Martin.
Yes,
Thank you. Motion passes.
okay. Item 10, Resolution 2023-11, addition of delinquent accounts to county tax rolls is recommended to adopt Resolution 2023-11 requiring addition of delinquent water and sewer charges and other fees of $5 or more to the 2023-24 Riverside County tax rolls. Arden?
Again, nothing to probably think Arturo may want to comment on
Okay.
this.
Arturo, go ahead.
Thank you, General Manager Wallum and President Martin, members of the board. We gave the presentation on Thursday with the amount of going to the property taxes of $562,701.74. There's no additional information other than we are working with property owners up to the date we have to submit to the county, which is August 10th. So we are still communicating with customers to let them know that they can pay that amount before it goes to the property taxes. Thank you.
We do go out, we do everything we can to be sure we get
Sure.
that paid before we have to.
Okay, any questions or comments from the board? Ted?
No, sir.
Nothing? Robert? Amber?
Briefly, thank you. As I mentioned on Thursday, some of these accounts in this delinquent list were as high as $85,000. And I just ask that we look at some sort of financial cap in addition to the 60-day cap. And if we have businesses that are accruing that much water usage in 3 months, I would like to see if staff can look at other ways to mitigate this continued loss and collection efforts.
Before it gets
Otherwise,
too large.
Yes, otherwise, thank you very much.
Any comments in response to her?
That's good. It's good input. We'll take a look at that.
Okay.
I think that was, it's usually pretty rare that they get to be that large.
If there's nothing further, I will entertain a motion to approve.
I'll make the motion.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second? Second. We have a motion and a second. Could I have a roll call vote, please?
Director Meyerhoffen,
Yes.
Director Duff,
Yes.
Director Griffith,
Aye.
Vice President Sewell,
Yes.
President Martin.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes.
Okay. Moving on to item 11, fiscal year 2023-24 budget. It is recommended to adopt resolution 2023-12, adopting the operating and capital budgets for fiscal year 2023-24. Also is recommended to adopt resolution 2023-13, adopting its appropriation limit for fiscal year June 30th, 2024. And item C, it is recommended to adopt resolution 2023-14, adopting its employee classification plan effective July 1. Now moving on to only item listed as A. Is there any questions or comments from the board? Amber, go ahead. Just item A first, and then we'll move on.
Director Duff, your mic, please.
So sorry about that. So
Thank
sorry.
you.
I had one question. I looked through and I'm just trying to find where the state, where we had to have so much money held to transfer septic to sewer due to a state fine that we have, and I don't see that anywhere in the budget. Can someone tell me where I would see that? The financial cost of that fine?
Yes, Director Duff, that is on the capital budget and continuous appropriations on the second page, line item 64. It's called the Supplemental Environmental Project. Even though it is not a capital project of the district, we wanted to show it in here to show what that cost would be.
Perfect. And then the only other comments I had regarding the capital budget and operating, I'm not going to beat a dead horse, so to speak, because we did discuss this at the workshop and I think briefly mentioned it on Thursday, but just to reiterate it to staff, I think that the board agrees with me. The timeline and process as it has been cannot continue next year. I also have requested and am formally requesting here that we have a 3-month from now budget follow-up committee meeting and potentially quarterly after that, so that the board can maintain more apprised and more involved in the budgeting process, especially since we don't yet have our strategic plan and there are so many moving operating pieces. I would like to make sure the board is more involved in that process as we go forward. The only other 2 comments I have, I'm still concerned that we haven't budgeted enough for staff in the future. I know that we can rectify this as we see fit, and I appreciate General Manager Wallen's concern and efforts to minimize excess staff and to try and have everyone wear as many hats. But I think that at some point, we have to accept that we have a lot of work to do and it may require more bodies in order to be more efficient. And so I just would like us to continue to look at that and maybe be a little more forward-looking next year in the budget as regards to that. And my very last comment is in regards to the Board of Directors budget. I still do not agree with the way the staff is budgeting this time. If me as a board member receives a complaint from a customer and they have already gone to staff and they have not been able to receive what they consider to be appropriate help in managing or solving this issue, that staff time that I brought to them for fixing should not be charged against the board, in my opinion. And as requested at the workshop and again on Thursday, I'm formally again requesting moving forward, me as a board member, and I'm not sure if my other board members agree, would like to see the time allocated by staff billing against the Board of Directors. And that finalizes my comments. Thank you.
Okay. Arden, do you care to?
We'll try to be more careful with how we allocate that money. You know, I mean, it sort of gets distributed every day and a little bit here and there, and sometimes some things slip through, but and I think we have changed some of the charges even since then. And we'll try to be more careful with that.
Arturo, do you have anything you want to add to the discussion here at this point?
No, thank you, President Martin. I completely agree with Director Duff. We are working on making some of those corrections and fixes to keep you informed about everything that's going on with the district's finances. I know that is very important when you're looking, when we're looking to you for advice and recommendation to approve certain items. So I appreciate that, and we'll definitely provide that information in the next couple of months.
I think I also want to add that, you know, the district has never been in a better position really financially. So now's the time to really take a good look at our financial policies and how we want to move forward, because we're very strong right now. So let's start out from a strong position, because I didn't get to do that 18 years ago. So, all right. Thank you.
Robert? Oh, I know. Okay, Ted?
I still haven't received the information that I requested, and my vote will reflect that. Thank you.
Okay, Ivan?
I would just say a big thank you to staff for all the effort that goes into this, and that I do agree with Director Duff that, you know, a little more time for the board to digest everything in the future would be helpful. So thank you.
I think what we have planned for you next year is going to be quite involved, and you're going to enjoy it. And I appreciate that you want to dig into it.
Okay, if there's nothing else on item A, I'll entertain a motion to approve that portion of the fiscal year 2023-24 budget.
And we need to open it for any public comment.
Oh,
We didn't have any public on the online earlier, but we do now.
okay, all right, thank you. We have public comments.
If there are any members of the public that wish to make public comment on this item, please unmute your mic or use your raise hand feature. If you're participating by phone, that's *9. President Martin, it doesn't appear anybody wishes to make public comment.
Okay. Anybody present in the boardroom wishing to address this issue? Okay. Robert, did you have something you wanted to add?
No, I was going to make a motion to approve.
Okay, we have a motion to approve item A and the fiscal year 2023 budget section item 11. Do I hear a second?
Second?
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Have a roll call vote, please.
Director Meyerhoffen,
No.
Director Duff,
Yes.
Director Griffith,
Aye.
Vice President Sewell,
Yes?
President Martin.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes.
Okay, moving on to item B. It's recommended to adopt resolution 2023-13, adopting its appropriations limit for fiscal year June 30th, 2024. And Arturo?
Thank you, President Martin, members of the board. There's no additional information to report on this item. This is again, the state requires that we as a district approve the limitation on the amount we can spend per year based on the number of people living, the population living in the community as a percentage of our expenses. And we have never gone above that number, but we are required to calculate that number, and that's what is in front of you for approval.
Okay. Okay, with respect to item B, any comments from the board? Amber? Robert? Ivan? Ted? Okay, with that, I'll entertain a motion to.
No public comment. Can we just confirm that?
Can we
Anybody on the
confirm?
line wishing to make public comment on item B? Please unmute your mic. If you're participating by phone, *9 to raise your hand. President Martin, there doesn't appear to be any public comment.
Okay. Do I hear a motion to approve?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Do I have a roll call vote on section B?
Director Meyerhoffen,
Yes.
Director Duff,
Yes.
Director Griffith,
Aye.
Vice President Sewell,
Yes.
President Martin.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes.
Okay. Subsection C, it's recommended to adopt resolution 2023-14, adopting its employee classification plan effective July 1st, 2023. Who's going to handle that, staff?
I think Arturo could begin, and then if there's more questions, we can go.
Okay, Arturo?
Thank you, President Martin and members of the board. Again, there's no additional information to report on the classification plan. Like we stated, there's FTEs, full-time employees approved by the board 53. Definitely from the conversations that we're having earlier, that is something we're going to take a look in terms of our staff. But that is a number that it is approved and requested for the 2023-2024 fiscal year.
We did not change that, yes.
Okay. Do we have any members of the public wishing to address this item?
If there's any members of the public wishing to address this item, please unmute your mic. Use your raise hand feature. If you're participating by phone, that's *9.
Okay. Any comments or questions from the board? Okay, having no questions on there, I'll entertain a motion for subsection C to adopt resolution 2023-14, adopting its employee classification plan effective July 1st, 2023.
I'll
I
move
move
the-
to. Go ahead. I'll let Ivan.
I'll move the item.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Can I have a roll call vote, please?
Director Meyerhoffen,
Yes.
Director Duff. I'm sorry, was that a yes?
Yes. Sorry.
Thank you. Sorry. Director Griffith,
Aye.
Vice President Sewell,
Yes.
President Martin.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes.
Okay, moving on to item 12, resolution 2023-15, amending classification and compensation plans for fiscal year 2022-23, fiscal year 2021-22, and fiscal year 2020-21, and fiscal year 2019-2020. It's recommended to adopt those resolutions previously mentioned. Anything further from staff?
Other than I think everyone knows this doesn't change anything. It isn't. And it just basically, we need to document it, that it was part of the classification study.
Okay, okay. Any questions or comments from the public? Okay. Seeing none, any questions from the board? Amber? Robert? Ted? No questions from the board. I'll entertain a motion from the board for item 12.
I'll move.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second. Can we have a roll call vote, please?
Director Meyerhoffen,
Yes.
Director Duff,
Yes.
Director Griffith,
Aye.
Vice President Sewell,
Yes.
President Martin.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes.
Okay, moving on to item 13, contract agreement with Raftellus Financial Consultants Incorporated for a long-range financial master plan and cost of services review. It's recommended to authorize the general manager to execute a contract for a not to exceed amount of $95,000 with Raftellus for a long-range financial master plan and cost of services review. Who's going to provide?
Arturo.
Okay.
Well, but I don't think there's anything much, but he may have some additional information to provide.
Anything further on that item, Arturo?
I don't have anything, President Martin and members of the board. I'm just showing the evaluation form again on your screen if you have additional questions.
Okay. Any questions from the board? Amber?
Last Thursday, I believe, we asked a question in regards to whether or not the timeline for this contract would be able to be postponed just slightly so the board had time to work on the strategic plan. Is that noted in this new contract that they're going to delay the start just slightly, or are we moving forward simultaneously?
I am working on that. They agreed verbally and they will change that information, but for today it was too fast to get that corrected.
Okay, thank you.
And may I add, just to reiterate, the strategic plan RFQ is out on our website and in Planet Bids. So we are moving forward with that as quickly as we can.
Okay. Robert?
I have nothing.
Ted?
Nothing.
Nothing? Okay.
And there is no public comment, correct?
And there's no public comments. Is that correct?
Anybody wishing to make public comment on this item, please unmute your mic. There does not appear to be any public comment.
Okay. With that, I'll entertain a motion for item 13, a contract agreement with Raftellus Financial Consultants.
So moved.
Okay, we have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Could I have a roll call vote, please?
Director Meyerhoffen,
Yes.
Director Duff,
Yes.
Director Griffith,
Yes.
Vice President Sewell,
Yes.
President Martin.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes.
Moving on to item 14, contract agreement with TKE Engineering Incorporated for on-call professional general engineering services. It is recommended to authorize the general manager to execute a contract for a not to exceed amount of $250,000 with the option to extend for 4 additional one-year terms not to exceed 5 years with TKE Engineering Incorporated for on-call professional general engineering services. Pardon?
Nothing more. Maybe Eric might have something, but while he's getting ready to speak, I just want to say that TKE never uses this. They're one of the very few. I mean, I think we reported last time on about 60%, somewhere in there. And the other thing that I want to say that I didn't say last time was that much of what they do is reimbursable expenses. So it doesn't come out, basically doesn't come out of the rates, and that they just have that expertise so that they can review these plans and specs, and which is basically taken out of a deposit. Okay. Did you have anything more you wanted to say, Eric?
No, sir.
Okay.
Go ahead.
No, he didn't have anything to say.
Oh, I thought he said he did. Okay. Any questions from the board? Amber? Robert? Ted?
No.
Ivan? Nothing for me either, so. With that, I'll entertain a motion to approve the contract agreement with TKE Engineering Incorporated for on-call professional general engineering services. Do I hear a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Okay, we have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second. I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Have a roll call vote, please.
Director Meyerhoffen,
Yes.
Director Duff,
No.
Director Griffith,
Aye.
Vice President Sewell,
Yes.
and President Martin.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes.
Okay, item 15, contract agreement with Urban Habitat for annual landscape maintenance for district facilities for 2023-2024. General Manager Wallum.
Yes, Danny might have some additional comments. I don't think I have anything additional.
Okay, Danny, do you have any additional comments?
No, President Martin, I do not.
Okay, do we have any members of the public wishing to address this item?
Any members of the public wishing to make public comment, please unmute your mic. If you're participating by phone, that's *9. There does not appear to be any public comment.
Okay, questions from the board? Ted?
I just have one question. Arden, General Manager Walton. And you said in the office, we're trying to phase out all the landscaping, or can you please explain that, or
No.
did I hear you correctly, or?
Oh, no, I don't. We're not phasing out landscaping, but we did add some locations there, and we took out the sprinkling system or the irrigation systems. And basically, we need landscapers to do this work. And that's, yeah, I didn't say that we were going to eliminate landscaping. I think what I did say is that we're trying to encourage drought tolerant native vegetation around our sites. But I think the majority of the work is cleaning the sites. And this wind has been really terrible this year. So, okay.
Yeah.
That's-
Thank you.
And I don't know if Danny has anything else he would want to add to that.
My apologies. I had 2 phone calls coming in when you started speaking, sir. So if you could repeat the question, please.
I just didn't know if you had any additional comments on the landscaping. I just wanted to give you that opportunity if you did.
Understood. No, I don't have any. I thought there was another question being asked. I apologize.
Okay. Any questions or comments, further questions from the board? Ivan? Robert?
I have a question to a comment. Let me start with the question. It's for council. Over the weekend, I thought about some of the conversations we had regarding this in lowest bids. Hypothetically, we have an issue with this contractor this year. We put it out to bid again, and because we're not satisfied, we pick somebody else. Next year, we do another bid. They come in as lowest bidder. Are we still required at that point to take them, or are there caveats once you use somebody and you're dissatisfied?
If you, so in that hypothetical, let's say you award the contract and 90 days down the road or 6 months down the road, you're not happy with the service, you have the right under the contract to terminate the contract. You terminate it, you go out to bid in a year, they have a right to bid. And if they are the lowest responsive bidder, they get the bid, they get the award.
Okay.
Unless you were to go through a process of a due process proceeding where you give them notice, an opportunity to be heard, et cetera, like we talked about on Thursday,
Non-responsive.
as being not responsible.
Okay.
And you would have to provide evidence to substantiate that.
Okay. So my comment is, I know we discussed it because of issues in the past, they're being watched. My comment and my suggestion would be, if this contract does go through, that they be monitored very closely, and at the first sign of trouble, it be addressed immediately and not go on for a year. I just don't think that we should be continuing contracts when we're dissatisfied with the service. And I know personally, I wouldn't. So that's just going to be my comment.
Okay, Ivan, did you have anything you wanted?
No, but I will say I agree with Director Griffith that hopefully sooner than later, if they are an issue, that we're able to terminate their contract.
Ted?
I don't know why you want to continue on with it, but I think I pretty well have said what I have to say about this, and I really urge the board not to approve it.
Okay.
But
Anything
your
further?
comments are noted. I like.
I'm going to concur with the other board members in that it's frustrating to have to go through this process with the lowest bid requirement, because it forces you to sometimes have to take work from companies that you may full well know are not the best qualified to provide the service, which is the case in this particular instance, at least from what we've seen. And I too would concur with Director Meyerhoffen. I feel that this should go back out, given that there's just so much issue that we've had in the 6 months that I've been here in regards to landscaping, to award a company who has not currently been responsive another contract and then go through the legal costs of canceling their contract, et cetera. I know that we're in a pickle, but I just want to, for the record, state that I think that they already have proven to be unresponsive. And although our staff may not have done what was necessary to document that on the staff's part, I still don't see the sense in awarding a contract to someone who we've had issues with. Thank you.
Let me ask a question. How close was the second lowest bidder to the,
It's in the staff report.
I'm sorry, what?
It's in the staff report. I think
For the benefit of the public, there, could you,
$699
yeah.
difference?
annually.
Council, would it be inappropriate for us, based on our dissatisfaction with the, to go with the second highest bidder?
It would be inappropriate.
Inappropriate?
There's a process. You have to go through a legal process
Right.
in order to ignore the lowest responsive bidder.
Okay,
I have a question.
sure, go ahead.
For council, what happens if the board votes no tonight?
And the contract's not awarded.
Thank you.
And that's an option the board has, is to vote no, not award the contract. Or to go back out to bid if you want. But that may come with some complications as well, because the bidders may claim that now their numbers have been put out there publicly and it puts them at a disadvantage. I don't agree with that argument, but you might hear that argument.
Sure, go ahead.
Danny, have they seemed in the meetings that that have happened recently that they're responsive and wanting to improve? Have they seemed to take the criticism well, or?
That's a good question, Director. So yes, they have been responsive. So what we've asked so far with our discussions, they have responded to. And to clarify what I said Thursday is, I don't want to say that we're spending additional time to babysit them. That's something that I refuse to do, but we are managing this contract along with our janitorial and other contracts differently going forward. So we're not necessarily spending more time just to get them in shape, but we're spending the appropriate time to manage these contracts appropriately. I will say that I agree with everything that's been said today. Unfortunately, we are having to approve this. Well, the request to approve this is to come up with a new vendor that's for the lowest bid, but we will be issuing any notice of non-performance in writing. And if they can't rectify that, then we'll go ahead and move forward with the early termination language in the contract.
So we can make them very much aware that if they don't meet the standards that we've set on there, we will terminate their contract. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, all right.
I have one.
Yes, Ted, go ahead.
If the district staff is taking care of the irrigation, we know the plants are going to get water. So all we're going to end up with is maybe some extra trash, but we're in Desert Hot Springs, don't we have extra trash in the wind? So the plants will still live because our staff is taking care of the water. Thank you.
Anything further?
Sorry, not to belabor this, but I think I want to go on the record. Two things. One, it's a little disappointing that they were not here Thursday and they're not here today. I know that if I was doing a contract and there was questions regarding my performance, I would want to be there to reassure people. And so I think that's disappointing, but I want to go on record as saying, should this get approved, I strongly recommend, and you can tell them watch this meeting, that they perform as to our expectations, because there won't be a second chance this year.
Amber? Okay. I see that we have two people joining us at the board meeting that were not here previously. You care to make any comments or questions on this item? We're pleased to have you. you can see that there's plenty of seating available for you next time you want to come to our meeting, so. Okay, with that, then I will entertain a motion to approve the contract agreement with Urban Habitat for annual landscape maintenance for district facilities for 2023-2024. Could I have a roll call vote?
Can we
please?
confirm with Dory that there's nobody online that wants to make a public comment?
If there's anyone on the line that wishes to make public comment, if you're participating by Zoom, please unmute your mic. If you're participating by phone, that's *6 to unmute, *9 to raise your hand. There appears to be nobody to make public comment.
Okay, anything further from the board? Anything further from staff? No, okay. With that, I'll entertain a motion to approve the contract agreement with Urban Habitat for annual landscape maintenance for district facilities for 2023-2024. Could I have a roll call vote, please?
I need a motion in a
I'll
second.
move the item.
I'm sorry.
I'll move the item.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I will second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Could I have a roll call vote, please?
Director Meyerhoffen,
No,
Director Duff,
No,
Director Griffith,
Aye.
Vice President Sewell,
Yes,
President Martin.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes.
Okay. Moving on to item 16, acceptance of the water supply assessment, parentheses WSA, and water supply verification, WSV, for the Green Day Village Development. Arden?
I think we don't have anything additional. I think we explained this. Eric might have some additional comments.
Okay, Eric?
Good afternoon, President Martin, members of the board. At the study session, I described the project and what the need was for the WSA, WSV, and there's no further comment.
Okay. Any questions or comments from the board? Amber? Robert? Nope. Ted?
yes, sir. So I just want to make sure I got this perfectly clear. When I read through this, we see that there's plenty of water there.
Well,
We can supply that amount of water that they're going to use is what I'm saying.
at this point in time,
At this point in time,
Yeah.
correct. Well, hopefully later 20 years down is what we're looking at here, right?
well, that we're taking that into consideration and basically, and I mean, I can ask Eric or somebody else to give you a further explanation, but what we do is we use, right now, we've been using the urban water management planning program, which they use modeling and they look at the aquifer to see what sort of growth we can sustain. And yes, they come into this area. Now will only have so much time to, get this project done so they don't hold it up. And what is happening is we're predicting and we're estimating. But I think we're fairly sure that there is enough water if the project moves forward.
Well, I hope so for their sake. That's a lot of money they'll be putting in that project.
Well, that's the risk. Yeah.
The other concern is we're saying here that we're going to be able to supply the water to their location, correct? From our wells
No.
to their location?
No, it
So
just
that's-
says there's water available.
Just water available only.
Yeah,
Okay,
providing that is a different issue,
okay, because yeah,
and that will be negotiated
because
to a
what
developer.
I was really concerned about, I know some of those issues out there and
Nothing to do with this, yes.
okay, so we're just approving that the water's there, basically. Thank you.
From the planning document.
From the planning documents and today's rainfall.
Well, actually, that doesn't have much influence on it, but
Today anyhow.
Unless we have another 100-year storm and
Or the flood, 100-year flood.
start building the ark.
Yeah.
Ivan?
nothing.
Anything? Anything further from the board? Any questions from the public at all? Comments, questions? Could you come up to the dais and speak into the microphone so we can record your comments for posterity?
didn't think I would have the chance to be famous. We're here from Whittier, California, and we have 2 pieces of property. And we wanted to be here on time, but the traffic was bad. But we appreciate your work and your care, and keep on doing the fine job.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, appreciate that. So the gentleman wasn't speaking to this agenda item?
I'm sorry, what?
Never mind, I got it.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion to approve acceptance of the water supply assessment.
I'll make the motion.
Okay,
I'll second it.
we have a motion and a second. Could I have a roll call vote, please?
Director Meyerhoffen,
Yes.
Director Duff,
Yes.
Director Griffith,
Aye.
Director Sewell, Vice President Sewell,
Yes.
President Martin.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes.
Okay, moving on to item 17, acceptance of the well 24 electrical panel rehabilitation project. Arden, anything further?
I don't believe there is. I think Danny did a good job. He may have something additional to share with you.
Danny, do you have any additional comments or questions or comments regarding this item?
Nothing further.
Okay. Any questions from the board?
No.
Okay, Amber, go ahead.
Just one, I forgot to ask it on Thursday. Do we have our cameras and necessary theft deterrent at this particular site so that our new equipment doesn't get vandalized and stolen?
We do not have cameras at every site. Danny, I'll let you answer that.
No guard dogs or anything like that?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, we want to be there someday, but it's very expensive.
Yeah.
But Danny, did you want to comment?
Certainly I can. Thank you, Mr. General Manager. President Martin, members of the board, this particular site does have the upgrades that you asked for. And to answer in broader, like just a general, we are working as part of that as our site updates, site security, as our SCADA improvements to install cameras at all sites.
Thank you very much.
But we're not there yet. Yes, I should have said up front that was part of this upgrade. When we do something like this, we try to bring that into the project.
You're welcome.
Okay,
I just will say
Robert?
Ring cameras were on sale for Father's Day.
Thanks,
okay.
Director Griffith.
Any questions from the public on this item?
I will move it.
Okay, we have a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Have a motion and a second. Have a roll call vote, please.
Director Meyerhoffen,
Yes.
Director Duff,
Yes.
Director Griffith,
Aye.
Vice President Sewell,
Yes.
President Martin.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes.
Okay, moving on to discussion items. Item 18, Nancy Wright Regional Water Reclamation Facility update. Arden?
Yes, well, we have Steve Ledbetter here to give us a status report.
Okay, Steve, go ahead.
Okay, good afternoon, President Martin and distinguished members of the board. I have a short presentation for you. So without further ado, I will share my screen and field questions at the end. Okay, so the SBR tanks, with the majority of the construction done on any of the concrete work, as well as the waterproofing and leak testing being complete, the contractor's been backfilling in around the treatment tanks to bring that ground surface up to where it will ultimately be. So you can kind of see that work. The area on the right-hand side of the screen is between the operations building and the SBR tanks, and you can see they're filling in about 8 or 10 feet of soil there to bring that up to final grade. In addition, the SBR tank channels, these are the main channels that will bring the water and distribute it to each of the 4 treatment tanks. All the embedments, you can see the communications and electrical conduits going through the walls, as well as the rebar has been formed up and poured. As well as within the SBR tanks, they're beginning to outfit all the equipment within them. These are the scum troughs, which is they help remove kind of a layer of film that tends to develop on top of the treatment process following aeration procedures. So that'll be able to take that off kind of the top of the treatment treatment, the water that's in each treatment tank and dispose of it. In addition, the aluminum piping that will be all the air piping that feeds the air to the microbes to help them do their job and treat the wastewater are shown in front of you. It's the air low pressure piping. In addition, all the catwalks, so these are the walks that the operation staff will be able to walk in between and around all treatment tanks to get a visual inspection and conduct maintenance. Those are being formed up and poured. Several of those are cantilever walls, meaning they kind of overhang the vertical wall, and they require some kind of special forming. In addition, the handrails that go along with those catwalks, as well as around the perimeter of the treatment tanks, they're seen installing the anchors that will anchor those to the SBR tanks. In addition, we've done everything we need to do with Edison to begin the interconnection process. Our actual Edison connection point is down off of 20th Avenue. So that requires installing a conduit kind of east along 20th Avenue and north along Little Morongo up to the main operations building. And seen here is kind of the trenching going along the fence line running north up to the main operations building. In addition, some of the pole boxes and electrical vaults that will be a part of that Edison connection. Here is right out front of the main electrical room. On the left-hand side of your screen, you can see there's a bank of conduits with a red cement slurry backfill to denote that there's electrical conduits should any excavation take place in the future. And those go to these really large concrete vaults, while ultimately the Edison transformer and main switchgear will be placed. The operations building, you can see there hasn't been a lot of progress on the exterior cladding. We're kind of looking at both corners of the west side of the building. The high wind has really been nonstop since the beginning of the year, and they've been a little bit slow on making progress on the exterior cladding around the building due to the high wind. It's just not safe to fly those middle panels up and place them. But as you'll see through the next several photos, that has not stopped work or slowed down work in outfitting the interior of the building. With regard to that, you can see that the drywall and HVAC systems, as well as the cable tray and the equipment that's being placed in the building, that is being outfitted throughout each of the rooms. Again, the HVAC system has gone in, as well as the roof insulation. You can see on both photos. The photo on the right is the control room or the main operations room. And there are several rooms within that for restrooms, locker rooms, office, as well as the control room and water testing lab that will be on site. So that's kind of got a little bit more intricate duct work that goes along with that to provide heat and air conditioning to each of those rooms to operate and maintain the plant. In addition, in the electrical room, there's specific pads that need to be placed to place the electrical panels, the motor control centers. So that work is continuing with the forming as well as concrete placement. And then the conveyance line, as we talked about last month, has resumed or has begun, excuse me. We've worked through the permitting process, and the main photo in front of you this is the influent manhole right outside of the treatment plant. So this will be the main 90-degree bend that sends all the flows in the future into the plant. We're looking at a 36-inch specified clay pipe, as well as the excavators required to put that into the ground. In addition, on the left-hand side of your screen, they typically block out where the manhole goes while they're placing the pipe, and then they come back and start to form what's required to pour the concrete around the concrete manhole base, which is the photo on the right-hand side. So on the right-hand side, that's ready for concrete, so they can pour the base of the manhole, and from there they would stack pre-constructed concrete rings up to ground surface. Regarding the funding update, on the phase 1 for the treatment plant, our final budget approval was approved by the State Water Resource Control Board on May 31st. Thereafter, we had a meeting with the State Water Board on June 8th, both their engineering department as well as their finance department, to go over the specifics for the reimbursement procedures. There are three separate forms, as well as a progress report that's required for reimbursement. We had a long, 1-hour conversations going going over all the details for that so that we don't see any roadblocks with getting this first reimbursement request funded. We're on track to submit our first invoice prior to June 30th. And then the state is telling us that we can expect payment in late July or early August for that first reimbursement request on the treatment plant. In addition, we've had a lot of back and forth through April and May on the conveyance line, final budget approval forms and documents, and worked through that and got everything submitted at the end of May for the FBA for that phase of the project. And no updates on phase 3 as of yet. And with that, I'm happy to take questions.
Okay. Amber?
Mr. Ledbetter, did we have any success in getting the start of construction date corrected?
No, we have not attempted that yet. We are waiting until we bid phase 3 and make sure that we have, funding to cover all 3 phases of the project, so that any kind of amendment that we do can kind of just be captured in one, since it's kind of a lengthy process. But the state has assured us that they will process that amendment if and when we're ready.
And just to clarify, the amount of money that we are waiting for reimbursement, do you know off the top of your head how much is in that month and a half of construction work that falls outside of the date?
Yeah, so the month of April 2022 falls outside the current eligibility date, and that's around $1 million. The first reimbursement request, we did talk about that with the state when we had our meeting on June 8th, and they assured us that there will not be any hiccups with getting that money reimbursed at a later date, and that we're still clear to submit for May. And we're going to submit through March 31st to get us back on a quarterly process to submit quarterly reports, quarterly invoices, and reimbursement requests. So what we're looking at now, just in construction costs from May through March 31st, is just above $20 million.
Great. And could you please be sure to provide the board a copy of the invoice when it goes out?
Yes, we can.
Thank you.
Thank you, Director Duff.
Robert?
Just a question regarding phase 3. You just said did that just go out to bid? Is that what you just said?
No, we haven't bid phase 3 yet. We're waiting on some final changes with the design, and that will be going out to bid later this summer.
Okay, and just to get an idea of rough timeline wise, when might that project start to move forward in terms of physicality?
I would say around October of this year, we should be in construction on the phase 3 area M2 sewer collection system and septic abatement.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Ivan?
Just overall timeline is still looking good and no hiccups as far as what we're kind of expecting.
Yes. Director Sewell, we're still waiting on final confirmation with the Motor Control Center. The project's still scheduled to be complete through in September. If the motor control centers are delayed, that might slow down the startup and commissioning by a month, but everything else is on track otherwise.
Great, thank you.
Ted?
Yes, you're doing a wonderful job over there. My question is pretty simple here. Now that we have a landscaper, are you going to have is there any plans to put like oleanders or something around the fence line to kind of enclose it and make it look nice?
The entrance for the treatment plant, both entrances will have decorative landscaping, but there is no additional landscaping planned on the site or around the perimeter.
Okay, thank you.
And just one more note, until we're done with construction, it's the contractor site. So we won't need to really worry about any maintenance of the landscaping until they're done and in essence turn the keys back over, which is expected first quarter of next year.
Sure, basically the last thing. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Just to follow up on something Director Meyerhoffen said, I would be against oleander being planted anywhere. The leaves are poisonous, and a lot of animals have died from eating oleander leaves and stuff. So I hope that that's not included in any of the projects that we have, oleanders. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any questions or comments from the public on this item? Nope. Okay. Moving on to item 19, Critical Services Center Administration Building Update. Who's going to handle that?
I'm going to take that.
Thank you, President Martin, members of the board. Very, very quickly, just wanted to remind everyone that we will have a tour of the East Valley Water District building on June 29th from 1 o'clock to 4. We'll be leaving this area around noon. We'll get better dates with and times with you better times with you once we get closer to next week. Following the tour, we'll schedule a workshop, hopefully in July, pending everybody's availability, to discuss the tour, board's comments on the design, now that you've seen both buildings, because the dais I know is the boardroom specifically is a question mark. So then once you see both the concrete dais we saw at Palm Springs Unified, then you'll see the wood version at East Valley. We'll start taking those comments and conveying them to Renewal Clark, and then also talk about the building location with the consideration that we discussed, the Jerusalem cricket and the CEQA information that occurred during the budget workshop earlier this month. So that's coming up, and we'll be checking everyone's schedule in the coming weeks to schedule that workshop in July. Thank you.
Any questions or comments regarding the Critical Services Center Administration Building?
Yes, what you're saying here, we're moving forward with this building but we're not sure where we're putting it, or we are sure where it's going to be put?
I believe we're going to be having a workshop to discuss the discussion that we had regarding the CEQA issues that have to be overcome to keep it at this location.
So I'm not going to be going down there on this field trip. And the reason is that we should have a workshop to find out what we're going to actually do, where it's going to be, how long down the road it's going to be. So it's a lot of money for staff and the directors and everybody to go down there to look at something that we don't know when it's going to be done. Makes more sense to me, have the workshop first, figure out where we're going to build it. Are we going to be able to use the same plans and what we're actually doing, and then take a trip down to look. So that's just my thought. I won't be going on the field trip.
Okay.
That's the reason why.
That's okay. I mean, I would encourage you to go on the trip. That, first of all, it doesn't cost that much to do that. Secondly, it gives you an idea of what a well-designed flow chart for an operation such as a water district can be. That's all you're really accomplishing, is to see what a big improvement it is if you have a proper design right from the start.
I understand that concept, and I love to look at buildings and see different architecture, but I just can't justify going down there at this point.
That's your
So,
prerogative.
You can bring me back pictures. They say 1,000 words. And, President Martin, I feel you should have an ad hoc committee on this project. This has gone on too long where we don't know what's really happening here with this whole thing. And you have two board members here that both have served on the planning commission with the city, and we know what's going on with them. And we need to work more closely with the staff.
I appreciate what you're saying, except for the fact that this is a process, and your withdrawal to participate is going to leave you with less information than the other board members who do attend with respect to the design and the vision that we have for our new facility. I think it's a mistake to avoid that simply because you don't think all the pieces are in place. But I think you're going to regret it in the long run when we move forward and then have you say, well, I didn't have enough information to vote so we're not going to vote on it simply because you weren't aware of the design because you didn't participate. So I think it's a mistake to do that, but that's entirely up to you.
I don't see that happening because,
Okay.
You'll have plans. I know how to look at plans.
Yeah.
So you'll have the plan. Hopefully.
Okay, moving on. Amber, anything?
I will touch on this more in my comments later, because during Aqua, we were able to have the privilege, if we attended one of the seminars about innovation, where we got to see some of what East Valley has done in conjunction with the city. And with the conservation environmentalist groups. And I think that given the fact that we're on a bit of a turning point in this project, I think that the more information and the more opportunities to see how maybe we can take some of East Valley's ideas in working with our city government and potentially the conservation groups could potentially provide something very beneficial for our city as well as the district. And so I do want to concur with President Martin and General Manager Wallem and encourage you to join us on that tour, because I think that if we can see what some of these innovations East Valley has done that has saved them money and has allowed them to work with these big entities that make building so complicated, that it might help you help us with your expertise in the Planning Commission and building to see which issues we could apply here at home. Just my recommendation and comments after seeing their presentation at Aqua.
All right, I'll give it some more
Excuse me.
thought. It's quite all right.
You said that so much better than I did, so. Okay,
Okay, thank you.
Ted,
Yeah,
any comment? Okay, Ivan?
Nothing.
Robert? I'm good. Okay. Any questions or comments from the public on this issue? Okay. Item 20, supplemental environmental project update.
Eric Weck is going to give us a status of our SEP project. So Eric, why don't you take it from there?
Yes, sir. Thank you. Good afternoon, President Martin, members of the board. Item 19 of your agenda, item 20 of your agenda packet is simply an informational project update for the supplemental environmental project known as the SEP. To serve as a background, the SEP was born from a settlement of an enforcement action with the Colorado Basin Water Board, in which they agreed to allow MSWD to provide funding to construct private sanitary service laterals for properties currently using septic systems. This project seeks to have those septic tanks abandoned and have the properties connected to the sanitary sewer system, thus improving groundwater quality. Over the past few months, MSWD has compiled a list of properties that are currently using septic systems as opposed to being connected to the sanitary sewer. So staff reached out to a total of 55 property owners and sent mailers and sewer connection applications and entry permission letters to the 55 property owners. 31 property owners replied and expressed interest in being connected to sewer and being part of the project. So after preparing the project specifications initially, staff posted the project specs and project requirements on the Planet Bids website to solicit construction bids. So 2 bids were received, and the first one was from Genesis Construction from Hemet in the amount of $570,804. The next one was from TriStar Construction from Desert Hot Springs in the amount of $645,447. So staff reviewed the bids and found that they exceeded the available project construction budget. So after reviewing the project specifications in detail, staff found that there were some construction items that could be adjusted and specified a little differently that would yield the same end result at a potentially cheaper cost. So currently, the project specifications are being reworked, and they will be advertised by the end of June. Once the new bids are received, staff will review them and have a board item in the August board meeting to inform the board on the project and potentially award that project to the lowest bidder. Again, this agenda item is only as a verbal update on the project and no board action is necessary. Are there any questions?
Okay, any questions from the board? Ted?
Keep up the good work.
Ivan? Robert? Amber? Okay. All right. Moving on to consent agenda. Agenda items are expected to be routine, non-controversial, and to be acted upon by the board at one time without discussion. If a member would like an item to be handled separately, it will be removed from the consent agenda for separate action. Do any of you want to pull an item from the consent agenda for further discussion?
I have a couple questions on the cash disbursements page. Is that where we're at?
Well, we're on the consent agenda. Which item are you referring to again?
22.
Okay, 22, okay. So you want to pull item 22 for discussion?
Please.
Okay, any other part of the consent agenda? Do we want to pull? Ivan? Good?
No,
Okay. With that, the register of demands, what is your question or concern or comment?
I just had a couple questions for clarification, if you guys don't mind. I'm looking at my notes here, sorry. The desert, let's see here. The Desert Water Agency payment of $260,000 for the rack fees. Could we get a little information as to what Desert Hot Springs residents receive for that cost?
Yes, of course.
That would be
It's
great.
fairly simple. We basically pass that cost on. It's from Desert Water Agency, and then we have to distribute it proportionally to what the usage is based on what, our cost is.
So I guess maybe I should rephrase my question. How much recharge water did we get from DWA in exchange for the $260,000?
Go ahead, but I'll tell you, not much.
Brian?
No, in reality, the way that the rack works is not based on how much water is delivered. It is simply on how much we pump out of the ground. That's the way the replenishment assessment charge has been, both for ourselves, or DWA and CVWD, the two state water contractors and two providers of water in the valley. So it's not a function of how much water we get. That's why I was going to ask the question, what specifically are you looking for? Because it's the water that we pump out of the ground that we're paying for. So if we can provide you with how much or the amount of deliveries and how much water we have, or they estimate that we've received.
Residents asking me why we have to pay them that much, and are we really getting all of our water from them? And that's not the case, because we get a lot of water naturally in our aquifers from runoff. So I'm just trying to be able to better answer these questions when I get them. And because this was on the agenda as far as the cost, it was a good opportunity for me to ask that on their behalf.
Amber, just further information on that. That has been a bone of contention between us and Desert Water Agency for a long, long time. And I don't think there's anybody on this board that disagrees with your question and concern. We're in the process of dealing with that issue, but it's a long process and
Well, now there's a third one in Orange County, a very, very small agency, but Desert Water Agency and Coachella Valley Water District are the only ones that really handle their revenues like them. The other 27 basically charge based on what they deliver. In our case, we're charged based on what we pump. And yes, we've had 1,000 conversations.
So the public is good to be concerned and wondering what benefit they're truly receiving from DWA as far as the
Yeah.
cost that they're spending.
Well, I mean, this is going to get very complicated fast.
And I don't intend to do that. I just was trying to ask.
Basically, what they do is they deliver water as the state allows them to deliver water. I think we're going to get 100% of our allocation this year. Did you want to say something?
It's pursuant to a settlement agreement also, right? The amount
Well,
of water that we.
Yeah, well, actually, this was in place before the settlement agreement, but the settlement agreement was put in place because they didn't calculate the area of benefit for what we needed, and that was our contention, and they agreed, and we had a settlement agreement, like JP said.
Okay.
But boy,
I know it's a big subject. I was hoping there was a simpler answer for the public, but
Actually,
it's going to have to be a complicated one.
there is an engineer's report that DWA does every single year that helps establish the rack fee. And of course, this year they've approached us about increasing that rack fee. So from that perspective, the engineering report provides the documentation of what we're actually getting for the rack fee. So, and it's on their website, but what we will do is we'll get a link to that and provide that to the entire board. So you have an idea of what that engineering report is about. And then if there's any additional questions, it's something that we can bring directly into to DWA and they can talk about through that.
I do
In
have
the-
a hard copy in my office. If you'd like to see this year.
In the meantime, any citizens that reach out to you, have them direct their issues to Desert Water Agency and complain to them, you know. It's not-
Communication from them themselves. And then the only other question I had was a pretty simple one. Just there's 3 separate turf rebate payments to our Mission Lakes Country Club for the same amount. And I just was making sure they had 3 separate areas that received turf rebates. This wasn't an accidental duplicate. That's all.
I had the same question when I approved the requisition, and yes, it's 3 parcels.
Yes.
And they evenly divided it between those 3 parcels.
No further questions. Thank you very much.
Okay, any other questions or comments regarding the Register of Demands?
Yes, I have the same question about the Mission Lakes. So that program is for commercial properties also?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, I thought so.
We're basically working with Desert Water Agency also. We're not funding the entire. Person that knows the most about this would be Marion.
And I understand they're up to $2 a square foot now.
Yeah,
And
get more than I got when I don't have any grass in my yard, so. But I think I only got $1.
we should have a little grass in your yard.
I don't have any grass.
Not that kind, Hardin. It gives off oxygen. It's good to meditate on, gives oxygen. At one time, a lawn, one time a lawn in your front, it was as prestigious as having a Mercedes Benz there. I can't find it now, but quickly, did we buy a new dump truck and a new forklift, or was I reading something there? 100,000 for a dump truck, forklift? I think there was one other piece of equipment in there too.
No, we did. We purchased 2 new vehicles in the
Yes.
last 60 days. And both of them hit this warrant register.
A dump truck and a forklift.
Yep.
We use a forklift.
Yeah, they were replacements of older vehicles.
And where are those older vehicles going?
They were here when I got here.
Those older vehicles will go to auction. We go through a state website that puts them out there for everyone nationwide. People bid on those things and then maximizing how much we can actually get by other agencies, public agencies bidding on them.
Starts a bid.
Yep. Yeah. Danny, you know, I don't know the name escapes me right now. Do you know the name of that process?
Yes, sir. It's called Gov Deals.
Thank you.
It's called what?
Gov Deals.
Never heard of it. All right, thank you.
Okay, any other questions or comments on the Register of Demands? Yeah, go
I'm
ahead.
so sorry. The last couple months, I've noticed that there's been just a couple instances where there have been payments lost in mail. But on this Register of Demands, there were several that stated lost in mail. And I know that we were using a new system through the bank to mail out our payments. I just was wondering if we are on top of what's causing some of our payments to get lost in the mail.
Yeah, but I'm gonna let Arturo answer that because I asked the same question. Why do you have this plus and minus here?
Right, thank you.
Arturo?
Yes, thank you, General Manager Wallen, President Martin, Director Duff. We've had several issues with the mail in the city, including regular bills getting delivered to customers. So we continue to work with our local mail delivery to fix that. But it is that's an issue that's ongoing, and we try to address it, but it comes up every once in a while again.
Thank you.
Yes, Robert.
It's a question regarding, it's on 518, the state of California EDD estate tax late fee. Can you explain that a little bit?
What item is that again?
It's on 518, check number is 99103014, state tax late fee for $1,200.
Let me look into that and I'll get back to you.
Okay.
I'm not sure what that exactly is for.
Okay, I would hope we're not paying late fees, so.
Right.
Thank you.
Anything further on the registered demands? Okay, I'll entertain a motion to approve item 22 on the consent agenda. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Have a motion? Do I have a second?
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Can I have a roll call vote, please, on item
Director
22?
Meyer, sorry.
Yes,
Thank you. Director Duff,
Yes.
Director Griffith,
Aye.
Vice President Sewell,
Yes.
President Martin.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes.
Okay, on the remaining items on the consent agenda, item 21 and item 23. Do I hear a motion to approve?
So moved.
Okay, we have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Have a roll call vote, please.
Director Meyerhoffen,
Yes,
Director Duff,
Yes.
Director Griffith,
Aye.
Vice President Sewell,
Yes.
President Martin.
Yes,
Thank you. Motion passes.
okay. Moving on to item 24, director's reports. Who wants to go first?
I will.
No hesitation at all. huh?
No, I'm going to get out of the way and I can sit back and listen to you talk.
Okay, all right.
All right. So now that I'm on your cycle, back in May 2nd did the DWA meeting and I don't know where I wrote my notes for that, so I don't have much, but May 3rd did the Public Affairs Committee meeting with Director Sewell. May 9th through 11th, Aqua Conference was a really good conference. Best session, which I attended with Director Duff, was the session on working with other agencies collaboratively to help projects move forward, which is something that we're looking to hopefully an approach we would like to take in the future, working more in conjunction with our other agencies as well as environmental groups. And one of the examples, and I know she's going to shoot me for saying this, but I wrote it down first, is the Sterling Natural Resource Center in Highland, California, which I know that she and I are very eager to see. State-of-the-art water treatment facility that they kind of made a wetlands and a park for residents. And I think it's a fantastic out-of-the-box thinking to we have these percolation ponds, and it's just a fantastic thing to do that benefits not just the residents with the new facility, but also the environment. And so I would like for us to take a really good look at that and see if there's a way we could incorporate that somehow in the future. May 16th, I did the DWA meeting and, just brought this up, covered the cost, the COI increases for the agency. Best part was the draft engineers report of the West Whitewater and Mission Creek sub basins. Very long read, very informative. You mentioned it. I highly recommend that everybody read it. It really gives an explanation. If you don't understand where our water comes from, it gives a really, really good explanation of all the sub basins within the Coachella Valley. So 2 thumbs up. And then let me back up. Aqua, because I wrote this down. I also attended the Women in Water reception with a few of the other MSWD people there. And Director Duff, she's a woman, got to meet other women working in the industry. They didn't really care too much to talk with me, but she hit it off really well with some of the leaders. That's true. And I think, I watched her, I just kind of stood back and watched her interact with these other women that are in higher levels within Aqua and other agencies. And she does a really great job of representing our community as well as Mission Springs Water District. And believe it or not, I'm actually proud to work with her. Sometimes not so much, but overall, yes. And I really look forward to seeing what she can do with Aqua to help raise our profile. So I give you 2 thumbs up today too. And then May 23rd, CVWD meeting, relatively standard meeting. Most notable item was a return to the $2 per square foot turf rebate because it had been $3 during when we were at level 2. So that concludes my report.
Okay, very good. Amber? You have a chance to retaliate.
No retaliation necessary. Thank you for your kind words and your support. I don't have much to say about my visit at Aqua. It was my first attendance at this conference. It was very, very timely and very useful to me personally. He said everything I was going to say with the exception of one. We also attended a discussion about the fleet electrification laws and rules changing, which I felt was very interesting because they had a representative from PGE there talking about the electrical needs and how they need to be able to plan for all these charging stations and then the extra need of charging after hours and et cetera. So it was an interesting conversation to remind us of how many depths there are to every little change and every little issue, right? Anyway, it was a great conference and one I was very grateful to be able to attend. On the 24th of May, I represented MSWD at the San Gorgonio Pass Water Alliance. They held their annual board of directors vote. The chair and vice chair remain the same. I think they're doing a phenomenal job there at that alliance. They had a lot of discussion about the huge rush to move by and capture as much water as possible. And all the efforts that they're putting into doing that, including cleaning out extra underground water caverns so that they can store more, building more, ponds and more runoff capture areas. It was pretty impressive, but they're certainly trying to beat the clock, right? And capture as much as they can before it ends into the ocean. So it was a great meeting. Also attended on the 25th of May, the CV CAN meeting. That meeting was held in a newly opened lounge facility in Coachella off of the 10. They also announced their new board members and they discussed some legislative updates within their industry and their new focus of canna-tourism, which their new president of their board is really going to be spearheading on behalf of their organization. I also had the opportunity to meet the owner of that facility who has a few businesses in LA, and he is working to provide me all of the wastewater requirements for the LA businesses that they have to be able to retain that cannabis wastewater into the sewer systems that they have there. And I'm very anxious to be able to forward that information on to staff when I receive it. Also attended the DHS Planning Commission special meeting on the 30th of May. They are in the process of cleaning up all of their Title 17 general provisions. They did approach me after and ask that MSWD help them in updating the approved landscaping list and some of the new and incorporate some of those new state guidelines regarding native, non-native, invasive, non-invasive plants. I've passed that along to staff and I think we're all working on that. And then the last thing I attended, which was not a reimbursable event, but I attended the Palm Springs Chamber of Commerce Food Week kickoff for the first time. And that was very nice. Got to meet some of our local restaurant business owners and it was a very nice time. And that does it for me. Thank you.
Very good. Very good. Ted?
Excuse me. Went to the BIA leadership reception. And that was very nice. Met some interesting people there in the business. I also pointed out some landscaping to President Martin and Mr. Harden over there. It doesn't all have to be desert landscaping. We can have some nice stuff too somewhere. The Planning Commission, I attended that, filled in for Director Duff when he was at a convention or something. What came up there was they want to move the city wants to get rid of the easements in between the houses. And so I explained to a couple of the staff members, which let me just say that I tried to explain to a couple of the staff members to check and make sure that those meters aren't already covered up by a fence. And before they do that, and then I had to explain that it's not my decision to say no. I'm not saying no, that you can't do with this, but you need to check with the water district to make sure that some of those old meters still aren't in the back there of the easement before you close it off.
Yeah, they have to be accessible. Yes,
Yeah,
correct.
so I don't know what will happen there, but I did bring it to their attention. The EVBA general luncheon meeting, those are always interesting. I always learn something new from those meetings with the others, what's going on in the other cities, and some of that information is mostly building, but it does relate once in a while to what we are doing here. That's good. And then let's see here. The joint chamber mix at the airport. I've never been to one of those before. I found that to be interesting. I picked up a extra copy of the Coachella Valley's book that they put out that has all the new landscaping and their requirements. So if somebody needs an extra one of those copies, let me know. I grabbed two just so I have one to give away. And I don't know, does the water district have a copy of that here?
No, well.
The new one. This is the
we
updated
decided-
one.
No, we like the one that CVWD does. No, we haven't.
Yes,
That
that's,
takes a little bit of, that takes some resources.
well, I have
It's an
one.
excellent book.
Okay, I have one. I'll drop it off because if the staff's going to be doing the irrigation, then they need to bring it up to those standards that's in there.
Yeah, part of our, we've tried to do to base, and we've joined forces with all of the districts in the valley. There's no reason for us to have 5 different books that say the same thing. So we're trying
Right.
to team up with them. Their book is very comprehensive and it's excellent.
All right, well, this is the second edition, the revised one,
Yeah.
so if you don't have one, I'll bring it here and drop it off. Then non-compensatable meetings, I attended the food truck festivities out there on Friday night. And that was, I seen Vice President Swale there also. So, and that was a nice event for the city to be putting on. And then I attended a open house with the Desert Valley Building Association out in Cathedral City. Like I said, I like to look at there, so it was non-compensatable, but I went there and show them a little bit of support, and it was a very nice time looking at the new houses, and they had desert landscaping there too, which looked very nice.
That's the law now.
All right, thank you.
Okay, Ivan?
Yes, I have May 9th through the 11th, the Aqua Spring Conference. Again, I thought it was a great conference overall. One that stood out to me was that fleet electrification breakout. And what kind of boggled my mind a little bit was there wasn't a lot of clear ideas of how the state was going to implement and enforce a lot of these electric fleets. So it was a pretty lively discussion. There was quite a few opposed to it and that were planning on making large purchases of combustion engines this year prior to the deadline. And then another discussion or breakout that I went to was the discussion on affordability. And I think that having our financial master plan, hopefully in line with our strategic master plan, I think that's going to give us a lot of information, especially as housing prices and inflation keeps to rise, and hopefully our demand continues to go down. So a lot of things to think about. But I think the most important part of our conference, I was inspired by Director Griffin and Director Duff's energy. And the two of them and Assistant Manager Macy pretty much ran across the room and cornered Joaquin Esteval, the State Water Resources Control Board Chair. And now our grant looks like it's going through. So I'd say that was probably our most important part of our whole conference. And then the 17th attended the joint chamber mixer, and nothing significant to report.
Okay, on May 2nd, attended city council meeting. There was an appeal of the decision of the planning commission concerning a 60,000 square foot warehouse facility. And fortunately, that appeal was withdrawn. Not exactly sure the reasons why that was withdrawn, but it was withdrawn. They approved an agreement with Bob Murray and Associates entering into a headhunting efforts for recruitment of a city manager. It's a shame because I think Doria Wilms would make a good city manager, but that's just my opinion. Desert Valley disposal fees for residential services and properties placed on the county tax roll. Moving on to 5.4, Desert Valley Builders Association legislative meeting. There were various building construction projects discussed, various legislative issues involving commercial and residential development, local, county, state, and federal. On 5/9 through the 11th, the Aqua Spring Conference, pretty much the same impression that the other members have. There were breakout sessions involving drought and climate change issues, federal issues forum, Region 9 membership meeting, statewide issues forum, water industry trends, and an innovation forum. On the 17th, Joint Chamber of Commerce mixer, nothing to report there. On the 18th, attended the countywide oversight board meeting. Since I sit on that board, there was a discussion regarding remote meeting locations and individual teleconferencing. There was a countywide, the countywide budget, oversight board budget for 2023-24, and the administrative cost allowance to the recognized obligation payment schedule for 2023-24. On the 23rd, Riverside County Board of Supervisors, there were a lot of public comments were dominated by labor issues involving nursing staff and at county hospitals. We got a lot of public support at that meeting. That was good to hear. Municipal Advisory Council membership policy adjustment to include residency or own a business within the district you represent. There was a change in zoning ordinance to allow manufacturing and prefabricated building modules. On the 4th, the BIA Leadership Reception in Living Desert. That was a well-attended event, as was put out by Director Meyerhoffen. On the 18th, Desert Valley Builders Association Networking Night. It was a well-attended event. Nothing further to add to that. On the 22nd, Cabot's Museum Board, we went through the financial reports. Visitation to the museum is up by about 5,000 people. So it's really gone up. On the 29th, Memorial Day celebrated at Veterans Park. That was a very well-attended event. It was really great to see all those kids out there getting their awards and stuff like that. And I understand that Mission Springs Water District has an award forthcoming that wasn't presented that day for our sponsorship of a team. On the 31st, the Greater Palm Springs Restaurant Week kickoff week at Agua Caliente. It was a great event. And that concludes my report. So moving on to General Manager's report. Pardon?
Okay. All right. I just think the only thing I might want to add is that we just got notice from a couple different ways, from Aqua down to the CGC, and then we got our own notice that Chrome 6 is now the standard of 10 is now out for public comment, and we'll be going over that and making our comments and getting back to you on that.
Okay.
Other than that, I don't have anything. I think pretty much everything is in here.
Okay.
I think Arturo might or might not have a financial comment to make.
More financial
Report.
stuff. Oh.
Yeah, I was going to say, you probably heard enough about finances in the last couple of years. Do you have anything you wanted to report quickly, Arturo?
Yeah, thank you, General Manager Wallum, President Martin, and distinguished members of the board. Real quick, just wanted to make sure to point out that in the budget report, we did update everything through May 31 in terms of our cash. We have not had the need to pull any cash from the investment funds for the ongoing construction projects. There is no financial update other than we are working on the changes that have been requested by the board. Accounting is also busy right now going through the interim audit. They're doing a great job with getting that started a lot earlier this year so that we can get it done sooner than later. And that's what we're working on. And we'll definitely bring you an update come in July. Thank you.
Any questions or comments for Arturo?
I just have one.
Okay.
Mr. Siha, thank you for doing such a good job.
Thank you.
Good. Anything? Ivan? Robert?
No, nothing. Thank you.
One thing I'd like to make, could you maybe arrange, get a different photograph of you that appears on our screen? It looks like a booking photograph in a county facility.
It's like a,
Something,
Bad, Artur.
something that you have a smile on or something like that.
looked like a day trader to me. Artur. I don't know what these guys.
Well, that too.
We'll work on that. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, public affairs update.
Yes.
Marion.
Thank you. Thank you, General Manager Wallum, and good afternoon, President Martin and members of the board. I have a short PowerPoint that I'd like to share with you that highlights some of the activities the Public Affairs Office has taken during the past month. Additional updates are available in your General Manager's report. There were several notable events, including the annual Elks Lodge Charity Golf Tournament, the Painted Hills Middle School Career Expo Day, our own Water 101, the Little League closing ceremonies, and the recent Rotary Community Appreciation Day event. We also had a presence at the Desert Hot Springs High School graduation ceremonies, providing water to all of the attendees. We also have our last spring summer Water 101 class this Thursday from 6 to 7 p.m. at the Desert Hot Springs Library. Of course, our directors are invited to join and meet and mingle with our attendees. This will be our last Water 101 in this series of sessions, and we will begin promoting additional fall sessions in the coming weeks. We are also hosting live stream blood bank on July 12th. All donations made during the event will be counted towards the 9 Cities Desert Challenge. It's a great way for our employees to show their Desert Hot Springs pride and to help our community. Appointment links will be in your email and also on the district's social media. On May 22nd and June 8th, we hosted 2 free utility assistance clinics in our boardroom. Representatives from Riverside County Community Action Partnership, the United Way, Food Now, and Desert Valley Disposal were in attendance for on-site program signups and to provide community resources. We promoted the clinics with paid and unpaid social media posts, flyers, e-blasts, and pre-recorded automated phone calls to customers that were delinquent on their accounts. Through Riverside CAP, customers were able to sign up for assistance not only for their water and sewer accounts, but also for their electric and gas bills. The turnout for both events was fantastic. We had more than 100 people in attendance on both days, and we had lines almost out the door waiting for help. This really hit home the need that is present in our community. When we do these again, we will be looking to add more community partners, and we will look for a larger venue. But overall, it was a very big success. On Thursday, July 20th, Mission Springs Water District is hosting a water efficiency workshop with UCCE Master Gardener Bert Boss, who will share his expertise and techniques for growing healthy citrus trees using water efficient irrigation and landscaping techniques. The event will be free and will be held in the Desert Hot Springs community room from 6 to 7 p.m. I'd like to share that Bert has over 30 years of experience living and gardening here in the Coachella Valley, and he's really passionate about sharing his knowledge. And he became a master gardener just to formalize his knowledge and to have the opportunity to share his experience with others. This will be our second water efficiency workshop with Bert, and we are very excited to have him back. And we will be providing several copies of the Lush and Efficient book that Director Meyerhoffen mentioned earlier at that event. Also, as part of our Desert Hot Springs High School Real Academy sponsorship, students recently participated in a 3-day competition with 8 other Inland Empire high schools. The event included a solar-powered boat competition and the development of a water conservation public service announcement. Throughout the year, MSWD has provided presentations, tours, and information to the Real Academy students that have helped them better understand our water system and our water sources. If you look closely at the picture on your screen, you'll see a hand-drawn version of the MSWD logo on the bow of the boat. While the team didn't win, they did learn valuable water and renewable resource information, and I'm very hopeful that they will put that knowledge to good use as they continue their education and explore careers in the energy and water fields. As I mentioned last month, there are currently 4 proposed climate, flood, and water resources bond measures that may be combined or amended on the state ballots next year. Polling indicates strong public support for a 15 to 18 billion. I think in your general manager's report, I had million, but please excuse that typo, it's billion ballot measure. All 4 measures were approved and advanced to the other chambers before the June 2nd deadline. We are watching these proposals closely to see how they are going to be amended and how they work their way through the second round of scrutiny. In your GM report, I've included a copy of our internal bill tracking document that we use to monitor pending legislation. We are currently hearing about proposed amendments to SB 583, the Salton Sea Conservancy Bill, which will add more local oversight and involvement to the proposed committee. We are also hearing about proposed amendments to AB 1573, which could prohibit the use of potable water on non-functional turf on commercial, industrial, and multifamily residential properties. The nursery industry specifically is seeking changes to that bill that would create a native plant working group at DWR to advise on native plants and the state's model water efficient landscape ordinance as an alternative to the proposed requirements. These discussions and changes are ongoing, and we will continue to update the board as new information is put forward. We also signed on to a letter of support for the Newsom administration's infrastructure package, Build California's Clean Future Faster, which proposes to accelerate critical water infrastructure projects that meet state, social, climate, economic goals while maintaining the integrity of appropriate environmental review, government transparency, and community engagement. That's a mouthful. Once I have a final copy of that letter with all of the signatories, I will forward a copy on to our board. And last but certainly not least, I wanted to draw your attention to our 2022 Consumer Confidence Report, also called the Water Quality Report, which is being printed and mailed to all of our customers during the month by July 1st. As part of our compliance with the state water regulations, the district annually publishes this report and provides source water analysis, performance on water quality standards, and other information regarding the quality of our water supply. This report will also be available for download in English and Spanish on our website. In addition to the water testing SAS quality information, we use this publication as a way to educate our customers on district activities in the past year. Some of this year's highlights include a construction update on the Regional Water Reclamation Facility, information on MSWD's 70th anniversary and historical information, drought and conservation information, Water 101 and our water efficiency gardening workshops, protect your pipes information, groundwater guardian and school opportunities, bill assistance options, and how to sign up for our Customer Connect portal. And throughout this report, you'll also notice there's QR codes that link to various videos we have created and shared with you during the past year. And speaking of videos, I would like to share one last video with you today that speaks to our water quality report.
MSWD, we care about our customers. I am a MSWD customer, as well as a lot of our employees are members of the community.
To make sure we deliver a safe supply of our award-winning water, MSWD conducts thousands of tests every year and details the results in our water quality report, which is published annually by July 1st.
We create our annual water quality report to ensure that safety is the #1 priority, as well as being transparent with our customers.
This report shows the findings of the most recent water tests conducted for regulated and unregulated substances, the range of measurements, and the average figures from those tests. Those statistics can be compared to safety standards established by the State Water Resources Control Board and the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency, which regulate the water we serve customers. The two agencies determine which substances are tested and how frequently water samples are taken. Water providers are required to publish the results of those tests, demonstrating how the water supply complies with all mandatory and voluntary standards.
As a member of the community, the water quality report helps assure me and my family that we have safe, clean water to drink every day.
Because substances in water can be detected in extremely small amounts, some units are measured in parts per million, which is equal to 4 drops of water in a 55-gallon drum. Others are measured in parts per trillion, equivalent to a single drop in an Olympic-sized swimming pool. In addition to test data, the water quality report contains information about our water and wastewater systems, upcoming projects, even helpful ideas to help you conserve water and protect our groundwater supply.
If our customers have any questions as they go through the water quality report, we are here to help.
Most importantly, you can depend on Mission Springs Water District to deliver water that tastes great and meets all state and federal water quality standards. To see the latest water quality report and learn more about your water, visit mswd.org.
And that concludes my report today. Thank you.
Thank you, Marion.
Marion, that was really outstanding, excellent work on there. Any questions or comments from the board? Amber?
Just concur with you. Great work, Marion. And thank you for sending water to CP Can's last 2 meetings. They are singing our praises. Thank you.
Robert?
No, good job as always, but you know, you kind of set the bar pretty high. So what can I say?
So, so apparently he doesn't want your job, Miriam. You're okay.
No, I do not.
Ivan?
Just thank you for the good work, and it was good to see in the general manager's report just the continuing new logins for the customer portal. I think this last month was the highest it's been in the last 6 months. So to see that continuing to stay across the board, hopefully we can keep those numbers going up.
I have something further there, President Martin, if it's all right.
Okay, go ahead.
Miriam, on your calendar, I know that like Dory sends us an updated calendar. So if one came under your name to my email, that would be fine. Because some of these things I'd like to go and support. And I forgot to send you my address for the little league there, the little guys there, and the baseball team there. So I apologize for that. And if you see him, tell him I said thank you. But it really wasn't necessary, but I thank you. And if, in the future, if somebody needs my PO box for that type of reason, feel free to give it to them. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, with that, we're going to move on to district council comments.
So I gave my report on Thursday. Today, though, item 28, we will have a closed session, and that is public employee appointment pursuant to Government Code Section 54957, and the title is the general manager.
Okay. And director comments, Ted?
Yes, thank you, Vice President Smoller, for the when we were at the last meeting there for the budget meeting. I was trying to explain where we're going to get that extra $500 or $500,000 all the time. And when you said the strategic plan, that it clicked with me. I just haven't had the right wording. And strategic plan, where at the city we call it a master plan. So here we call it a strategic plan, and I appreciate you bringing that up. That you're absolutely right. We need to have that before we have the finance. So thank you for that. And I kind of want to apologize, but I kind of don't, for getting a little bit upset over people getting wet. We have a tower, we're diving it, and there's some residents that are very close to it. So I really hope the staff is keeping an eye on. I think our assistant general manager knows what tower I'm speaking of. We're diving the tower that we're diving, the water reservoir we're diving. Yeah, so I'd be concerned.
I think that's in reference to my
Well,
comment that what happens if there's an earthquake. I said people get wet.
yeah, so I'm sorry. I just kind of take matters of safety kind of serious, and so I apologize for being taking it a little too serious. But yeah, it's a concern. And other than that, this chromium-6 thing we keep hearing about, it just all through California. And in fact, when chromium-6 rests up against quartz, it turns into a green stone that women sometimes wear. So I thought that was interesting, and the whole thing is interesting. Thank you.
Ivan, anything further?
Just a real light, quick, just thank you to my fellow board members. I feel like the past few meetings, we've really had some good discussions and been able to work together quite well. So thank you.
Amber?
I concur. Thank you. It's been fun to start delving into these deeper issues with each other and have such good dialogue. The comment I wanted to make today was more of a public service announcement. As summer has approached and all of our kids are about to be enjoying pool time, I just want to remind the public of the safeties necessary for pool safety with children. Please watch your kids by the pools. Please make sure that you get your kids their swimming lessons and make sure that they are water and pool safe. Have a fun summer, but please, safety is most important. Thank you.
Thank you. Robert?
Maybe this is a public service announcement. I don't know. I could say that nothing forms a bond among coworkers more than a fire alarm in the middle of the night at the hotel that you're staying at. And so some of us who were at the hotel in the middle of the night sleeping were awakened by a fire alarm. This is at the ACA conference. And so we got to bond outside while we waited for the all clear by the fire department. And my public service announcement is never leave your room without your key.
Or a shirt, right? That's one thing you wanted to bring up, a shirt.
Or a shirt, or your members only jacket.
Yes. And it also, in terms of public service, public safety, excuse me, is make sure your fire department knows where the water district is and et cetera, because they went by that hotel and were waiting outside, what, 4 times before they found the hotel and were able to come in and clear us to go back into our rooms. Kept seeing a code 3 truck going past us, and then it came the other way and then around the block, went through it. 4 times it passed us anyway. With that, we'll go into closed session. So we're going to adjourn. I want to tell our guests on there, feel free if there's any left bottled water up there on the counter to take it with you. It is our award-winning water. We've won more medals in water competition than any other water district in the world. We competed with Australia, New Zealand, Baden-Baden, Germany, Canada, all the other water districts in the United States, a few other countries I think there was 80 separate countries in all. And in 2020, we got the gold. And then the following year, I believe we got bronze and stuff, but that's still pretty impressive. So anyway, feel free to take the bottles, and we'll now move into closed session and take about a 5-minute break. Didn't show the picture.
Russ, I can't hear you. The boardroom is muted. Thank you, Ivan.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. The Mission Springs Water District Board of Directors is now back in session. Council, could you report on closed session, please?
Yes, there was closed session. Item number 28 was public employee appointment pursuant to Government Code Section 54957, titled General Manager, and there was reportable action taken. There was a first by Board Member Meyerhoffen and a second by Board Member Griffin to appoint Brian Macy as the interim general manager effective August 8th, 2023 for a 6-month term, and to direct the agency legal counsel to prepare a contract for board consideration in open session at the July meeting, I believe. So that was the motion and the first, and the vote was as follows: President Martin in favor, Vice President Sewell in favor, Board Member Meyerhoffen in favor, Board Member Griffith in favor, and Board Member Duff in favor. And that concludes the report out.
And with that, our meeting is adjourned. Thank God.